This is an industry standard Chinese mini milling machine. Over here is an industry standard Chinese mini lathe. In the future, I'm going to be talking to you about getting a machine for one of these also, because these mini lathes have many of the similar problems that the mini milling machines have. But for now, I want to concentrate on getting my kit for the mini milling machine going first, so that's what we'll talk about right now. Taking a closer look at the mini milling machine, we have, this is the control box where you control the speed. There's an emergency stop button, a fuse, indicator lights. At the back of the mini milling machine is the speed controller that we will be replacing with your speed controller. And on top of the mini mill is the motor, which is highly underpowered, and that's why there's a market for your machines. Taking a closer look, you can see that there is a cable running from the control box up to the motor, and also from the control box back to the speed controller back here. And this is the power input. Taking a closer look at the speed control box, you can see that it has two indicator lights. This indicator light indicates whether the power is on. This one indicates whether a fault has occurred. Usually this happens when light comes on when the machine stalls, which does happen from time to time when you're cutting metal with the milling machine. If you overtax the motor, it will stall. This light will come on to indicate there was a stall. This is an emergency stop switch, which is a very important feature, because sometimes the machine will jam in the metal and you want to stop the motor quickly before any more damage is done. And this is a fuse. So we'll look at these a little bit closer. You will notice there's no on-off switch. That's because the on-off switch is controlled by this button, which doubles as the on-off switch and the speed controller. So as I turn this knob, you'll hear a click. That has turned the motor on. And then as I advance this further, it speeds up the machine or slows it down accordingly. In addition to these other buttons, as I said, there's this emergency power stop. That's a very important function because sometimes the machine can jam and you have to turn it off very quickly. So hitting that turns it off very quickly. In addition, we also have a fuse that you can change by just moving this, and it comes out, and that's what the fuse looks like. And we may want to implement something like this on the kit that I'm trying to create. So that is the control box, and as you can see, it has many of the functions that I believe are in your controller. I just have to be able to implement them in a box, something similar to this, using a speed control knob like this. Here's an example of it. Here are the leads that control the speed, and then these two leads control the on-off. So as you turn this knob, you hear a click, then you speed it up, and then you turn it off, and you hear a click. The purpose of this is to ensure that when you turn it on, the speed control knob is in the off position. You don't want to have the speed control knob turned up high and then turn on the power and have it come on like that. So that's the purpose of having this type of a knob, and I believe we can implement that using your controller. Looking at the milling machine from a different angle, I want to take a closer look at the drive mechanism and the belt and pulley system that is there. So I don't know how well you can see this, but there is a pulley wheel on the bottom of the motor, and the larger pulley wheel which drives the spindle down at the bottom. This can be tightened or loosened to get the right amount of tension. You may notice that there are actually two positions for this pulley because this is an underpowered motor. They have geared it so that you have a low speed section and a high speed section. I'm not going to do that because your motor is powerful enough that I don't need to be able to change speeds. Your motor can just drive it at one speed and it should be fine. Later I will show you as I disassemble this how this goes on, but I need to come up with a new pulley wheel down here and one here, which I will create. I will also have to create this bracket right here, which it shouldn't be difficult. I've already modified this one so that it will work so I can mount your machine. So that's the first thing that I have to worry about is how to mount your machine, which I don't think is going to be a problem. In fact, I've already done it and I will show that to you later. Coming back to the other side of the milling machine, we'll now look at what my biggest challenge is in creating this kit. And that challenge is how to mount your controller box on the back of the milling machine the way the current controller box is mounted. And we'll see this a little bit better when I take the machine apart, and you will see how it has to be mounted on the back. So that is for the next video. Coming back to the other side of the milling machine, we'll now look at what my biggest challenge is in creating this kit. And that challenge is how to mount your controller box on the back of the milling machine the way the current controller box is mounted. And we'll see this a little bit better when I take the machine apart, and you will see how it has to be mounted on the back. So that is for the next video.